Hey guys, welcome to the Something About Tuesdays podcast. I'm your host, Phoebe Joy. Join me every other Tuesday for a lighthearted podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. Hey guys, welcome back to Something About Tuesdays, episode 27. I'm your host, Phoebe Joy, and hi, hey, and welcome. Guess what, y'all? Guess what? It's been 1 year. Woohoo! We are 1 year in since I believe episode 1 was released. I'm pretty sure it was the first Tuesday in March was when I did it. I think episode 1 I talked about how you hope to try to do things at the beginning of the year. I would think I was shooting for starting in January, but life happens. You try things, it doesn't work out. And next thing you know, we have a March start, but that's okay. It ended up being good still. I was excited to start it even in March. So already, you guys, there's my encouragement of the day. Even if you haven't started yet, go ahead and it's okay. It's all right if you start a couple months late. Same with New Year's resolutions. You guys, can you believe that we are already in the month of March? We're in March. What? I mean, I know, January, I felt like it creeped by, super creeped by. In February, it had its ups and, not ups and downs. I guess it had its fast moments and its slow moments. But even February, it's okay. But when I say we're in March, it's kind of oh, my goodness, we're almost a quarter of the way through the year. That's wild, but that's awesome. I think my first quarter of the year has gone pretty well as far as resolutions and goals and things like that. I still need to, I actually have been drinking more water here lately, so good on that. I haven't been sleeping that much more, but I haven't been sleeping less, I don't think, so that's good. And I've still been working on, enjoying the little things and all of that. So, yeah, how are you guys doing? I'm checking in. We're about a quarter in. Do we need to regroup, redo some things, change some things? But yeah, I want to just first off say thank you. Thank you for tuning in and listening. If you've listened from day one, hey, I'm so glad you're still here a year later and you're still with me. If you somehow maybe got on the train in the middle of it, yay. If this is your first episode, then hi, I'm so glad you're here. I hope that you will enjoy it. I do think you will. This has simply been from the beginning. My goal has simply to be just a podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. That's my tagline. One day if I create merch, I'll have that on there. I think I've said I'll have... we're about to wrap up here, I think, on a tagline, as a tagline on a shirt. And I think if I had to choose one more, it'd be the hi, hey, welcome. Because for some odd reason, that has stuck and become my introduction. So, so simply to keep you company while you do your thing. Like I've said, just enjoy listening to podcasts myself. Whenever I'm doing things, it just helps the time to go by quicker. And so I hope that's the same for you. And that's been the goal of the podcast. I hope it's been an encouragement, something fun, something that you look forward to listening to, and even sharing with your friends, things like that. So thank you guys. Woohoo for 1 year. And I can't wait for what this year holds and brings. I think, and I may have said it before, that one of my favorite aspects or parts of doing the podcast is the fact that I'm recording kind of memories. And, I'm hey, this is a way to connect with people and talk with people. If you know me, I like to talk. So just kind of give me that outlet. But I also do it because it's sort of, a way for me to also keep track of my life and see where I was a year ago or, reminisce about the things that have happened. To be honest, I don't go back all the time to listen to my episodes, you guys. I do not listen to myself that much. I listen to it to edit, make sure it sounds good. And then for the most part, I do not go back and listen. So please don't think that I just like to hear myself talk. But I do like to reflect on my life and things that have happened. And I love the fact that I can share that with you all. And that you guys care enough to listen. Let me be that friend that just kind of, chatters in the background and keeps you company. But in thinking about this past year, I was thinking about, okay, what was one of my favorite episodes that I just enjoyed. And I couldn't pinpoint one because there's a few episodes that have just been fun. Like, you guys know when you have those fun stories that you just want to tell and you're excited to tell and you're like, oh, this is going to be good, So I've had those episodes before. But I do think one of my favorite stories that I've told, and I don't know why, maybe it just sticks out to me, but it was episode 3. And I think it was episode 3 anyway. And it was when I was talking about when I went to cross country. Was it episode 3? No. Look, now y'all, I'm going to have to go back and look. Was it that episode? I don't know if it was episode 3. I'm pretty sure episode 3, I talked about the meaning of the podcast, the meaning of the name of it, I should say, why it's called Something About Tuesdays. But when my fave, I think, story I told was from, it was episode 5. There it was. I believe it was episode 5 when I was talking about going to cross country and seeing some of my students there and just how fun that was. But also that funny moment where I had tried to go under the line and my bun got stuck and yanked my head back in front of everybody. That was just funny. And I don't know why, but I still giggle about that. So that is one of my favorite stories I've shared. And just that episode, just the idea of showing up for people has stuck with me. And so that's one of my faves. I'd love to hear one of your favorites if you can. I think if I remember, I'll try to make that the question on Spotify for my Spotify listeners. And I'll try to throw it out there on the Instagram if you want to leave a comment or anything like that about one of your favorite episodes. But aside from that one, I did enjoy sharing why I picked the name of the podcast, Something About Tuesdays, that place between, who you are and who you want to be. So that still definitely rings true, and if you've listened to this podcast long enough, then I am that type of person who's constantly kind of seeking ways to just be better, just to be that person I want to be. You guys, I think we all have this idea of who we want to be. And we just think, okay, how can I get there? And if you're a Christian person, then you want that idea of who you want to be to align with who God wants you to be. And sometimes it's a little shaky. Sometimes you're like, God called me to be this, and I don't know about that, or God wants me to be this, and I'm not sure. But it's that process of getting there. It's that journey that I believe is kind of also that thread throughout this podcast as well. That I often like to think about and that I like to share with you guys in case it helps you on your journey in being who you want to be. So definitely episode 3, I think, is a good one. And honestly, topic-wise, I love, like when I was thinking about my favorite episodes, I love to share about the things with my kiddos. As y'all know, I work at a school. My position has changed from last year to this year, but I still work around kids, and it's just fun. I think I almost like working around kids almost for the same reason why I like looking out in nature. And that's because a lot of times my interactions with the kids just makes me think about and reflect on my relationship with God, because God is like, he's like our father, right? And so so much of how the kids are with me, I can see myself being that way with God. And you guys have seen that parallel. If you've listened long enough, then you've seen that parallel before. And even just kids in general are hilarious. You guys remember that show way back in the day called Kids Say the Darndest Things? Like, for real. I like that show. I don't remember seeing lots of episodes, but I saw enough that I thought it was hilarious, even when I was a kid seeing that. So I still definitely believe that kids do say the most hilarious things. And also, funny enough, they say some interesting, profound things without even trying. I think it's just the innocence of kids, their lack of experience with the world, and yet they still have so much to offer and say. And so I love sharing about the kids. That just seems to be a trend for this current season. You guys know, maybe eventually, maybe my job will change and it'll be something else and I'll share other kinds of stories. But right now, with where I am and where I've been in this last year, that's been one of the highlights of the things that I've been able to share with you guys that I've definitely enjoyed. And same with nature, because nature so much reflects, I think, God. In, one of the most untouchable ways, being human, of course, we were made in the image of God. He created all things about us and stuff. We are so complicated and complex that it's hard to figure out sometimes. but nature, I mean, the beauty of it, the majesty of it, the order of it, it's so much a part of God. It's so easy to see him in it, I should say, that's just another thing that I like to look at and share. And I think that I'll always throw out there and mention. But yeah, so thinking about the last year, I had, let's see, mom on as a guest and dad on as a guest and my sister. So I managed to get all the immediate fam. I'm still waiting to get my hubs on. We will see if we can get him on. And even my lovely child, my stepdaughter, Sid, we'll see if we can get her on. That would be an interesting one, y'all. I mean, she's my Gen Z child, right? So we'll have to see how that conversation will go with her. That'll be fun. So hopefully that'll happen this year. And get some more of my friends on here. I was gonna say, I know, so if you guys remember Dad's episode, if you haven't, please go check it out. My dad is a hoot. Like, he's hilarious. He honestly could have his own YouTube channel and it would be a hit because he's funny. He's a storyteller. He is where I get all my talking skill and ability from, and my storytelling exaggerated kind of expression is from my father. So that was a fun episode. Of course, having my mom on was a blessing, with her beautiful, calm spirit. She's the type who could, I guess, probably do it like a blog and do that well. I don't think she'd want to talk for an hour, but she could probably write and have some good nuggets thrown out there, right? And then, of course, my sister, she probably wouldn't say that she would want to talk and do a podcast type thing, but she could totally do some type of book review. Like, she's a good reviewer of things. So however she would want to do that, whether she did it blog style or podcast style or YouTube style, I totally think she could do it and be very successful in that. But that's been fun too in this last year, having them on. And you guys, I'm sorry if I'm just talking about this last year of the podcast, but it's just been amazing. It just, like, have you ever looked at something you did and think about, I did that. What? I did that. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And it's cool because you guys were here. You were part of it. Like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Unless, of course, this is episode 1 for you. In which case, hang on and go back and listen too, because you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be a wild ride, but it's going to be a good one. But yeah, so I just wanted to, I guess, reflect on that. Just think about that, and just appreciate what this last year has held. It's been fun and it's been awesome. And I've definitely loved the fact that I've been able to share it with you guys, share my heart with you guys sometimes. And I've got friends who hold me accountable. They'll hear it on the podcast and then they'll bring it back up and say, hey, I thought you were working on this, or hey, it's the little things, right? And I'm like, yes. So I definitely appreciate the accountability. I appreciate my friends who come up to me at church. You know who you are, and give me their song suggestions. They're like, hey, you can suggest this, and food suggestions, places for me to try. I love all of that. And so thank you for those once again. I can't say thank you enough. I know I say it every episode. I know I say it a lot, but that's because I really am grateful that you're out there listening. It's just awesome. It's so much fun. I love it. So, okay. We're 1 year in. It's been wonderful. It's been amazing. I can't wait to continue this next year. But with that, okay. So let's get into these last couple weeks. I want to start by saying that I was able to go on a trip, okay? And I definitely want to share with you guys the ins and out of that trip and just the fun aspect of that trip. But there are parts of it that I feel are very niche. Oh my goodness, there's that word again. Niche. It's very particular to very specific population of people. And that is the trip I was able to go on was a trip with fellow apostolic or Pentecostal people. And so I do want to share that experience, but I think I'm going to do it on a bonus episode because I know not every listener I have is in the apostolic faith or Pentecostal faith or are part of the organization, right? So there are certain things or certain people that I might mention that you're like, who is that and why would I care, and things like that. So because that is such a very specific aspect of this last week, I think I will make a bonus podcast for that, for my listeners who are, part of the apostolic faith or Pentecostals, and who will kind of know what I'm talking about. And if you're not and you still want to listen, feel free, because trust me, it's still going to be a good episode. Y'all, I got some stuff to share. But if you are more like, okay, I just kind of want the general life stuff, just the, casual listening, then that's what we'll maintain for the main podcast. And then I'll do a bonus episode going into the kind of more detailed things that you might have to have a little bit of background knowledge on. But like I said, either way, you're definitely going to love it. But in case you're like, just give me my normal, then this will just be the normal. The next episode will just be the normal, but I might throw a bonus episode in there. All right. So I was able to go on a trip, and doing that, it made me think of all kinds of lovely random things. And I guess, I don't know what it is about like transportation and things like that. It's that getting to the next place. But I think a lot during those transportation times, like when I'm driving my car, y'all know I'm always like, so I was in the car and da 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 da. And I think about that. Well, this time we were in the airport, and and of course, I have to highlight just either the cool stuff, the random stuff, or the weird stuff about life, right? That's kind of like this podcast. Like, and sometimes it's the mundane, just the day to day, like, hey, this was happening today. But, since it is a podcast, we want to hear you about something cool, weird, or random. And so this kind of goes along with a mixture in between the cool and random, okay? And that is, y'all know the moving sidewalk thing, right? Like you get on it and you can stand and go on it, or you can walk, okay? All right. If we were in a room, I'd be like, raise your hand if you are the walker of the moving sidewalk. And I would 100% have my hand raised high, because oh my goodness, walking on that moving sidewalk thing is so much fun. It feels cool. I don't know what it is. I think it's because like you're moving like it looks like you're moving faster than what you actually are. But I like to walk on the moving sidewalk. It's just nifty. And I'm like, you guys, we got to find more places to have these. I've only seen them in the airport, but there's got to be some more convenient places to have these. Like maybe in a mall, if you're trying to get from one end to the other quickly. I mean, obviously not the whole floor has to be a moving sidewalk, but if you just kind of strategically place one, that could be kind of cool. And even if I think I'm onto something, because if you're in a mall and you're shopping and you've got a lot of stuff, how convenient would it be if you could just stand even on the moving sidewalk and kind of get to the other end of the mall where you need to be, right? That needs to be a thing. I'll admit there probably could be some safety concerns, but I mean, we have escalators in malls, right? And I think we can make it happen. I think we can get the moving sidewalk there. And there should be other places with moving sidewalks, because like I said, it's fun. It feels cool. You get to places quick. I really like it. And that's it. That's all that point. That's all that point is. I.e. the random and the cool, right? But the other thing is, I don't know if anybody else is like this. And y'all know that could be another tagline, which is hilarious. I should keep track of these. And one day, when we do blow up and I get like billions of listeners, then we'll have to have a t-shirt of these things that I say probably every episode. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but does anybody else notice, like when you go to an airport, do you ever see people that just seem familiar to you? Like you look at them and they're strangers. They're strangers. You don't really know them, but they seem familiar. And you're like, I know I don't know you, but do I know you? And sometimes I wonder, like, if we are from the same city, has my subconscious maybe, noticed you at some point randomly in my city, and now we're in the airport and I recognize you again somewhere deep down inside? Or is there some aspect of your face that is similar to the aspect of someone else I know's face? And is that like a thing? That could honestly, I don't know if that's been researched before. I'm sure it has been in some way. I know back when I was in college, between my junior and senior year, sort of like sophomore, junior year, because I graduated in 3 years, I was able to work in a infant cognition lab, so a research lab with one of the professors and some grad students. And so while we were there, we were seeing if babies could recognize how much they could recognize faces and things like that, a diversity of faces, etc., all those things. And so I wonder if there's ever been a study done on like facial recognition in the sense of like at what point do you feel like you've seen someone and you're like, I think I've seen that person before, when you really hadn't, but maybe some aspect of their face you had, like maybe they had similar eyes to someone you knew or something like that. Not to get all like psychological on you guys and nerdy, but that could be an interesting I think research type of study of some kind. I've thought about like if I ever got my doctorate, what I would want to get it in, and it would be, I think my doctorate would be in psychology of some type of thing, because my bachelor's in psychology, and so I do think my doctorate would be somewhere in that. But within that, I'm not sure. So much research has been done on like the psychology of color, because I think that's interesting too. The psychology, I would want to see the effects of nature on psychology. There's when it comes to psychology, literally anything and everything is interesting. It's just about people. It's the study of the mind. It's the study of people, in our habits, our behaviors, our actions, what we think. So literally almost any topic could be done and being interested in. So I think if I ever did, decide to go back to school and get my doctorate degree, it would probably be something in psychology that I would do. Even though I work in education, maybe I could do something along the lines of educational psychology or something like that. But look at that whole line of thinking based off of familiar faces in the airport. But I do think that would be interesting. Then because I was on this trip, we stayed in a room, and it made me think about hotels and the types of people in hotels. All right, when I go into a hotel, there are, that whole saying, there's two types of people. In this instant, there were two types of people. So there's those of us, because it's us, because this is where I lie in all of this, who can live out of our suitcase no matter how long we're going to be in the hotel. So if I'm going to be there 2, 3 days, 5 days, I'm fine living out of my suitcase, right? Like keeping my clothes in my suitcase, getting my toiletries out, as needed. But for the most part, just living out of my suitcase. But then there's others, such as my mom and sister, who day one of staying in this room, like within the first 10 minutes of being in the room, is unpacking their suitcase to put their things in the drawers and to hang their things up and to unpack everything. And I'm thinking, like, I can't. That's not me. And I did eventually, because I was like, okay. So I had my stuff, like half my stuff was in the suitcase, probably like 75% of my stuff. And some of my stuff was hung up, as inspired by them. My stuff was absolutely everywhere. And I'm not sure the psychology behind that, right? I don't know if I'm just like, hey, we're leaving in a few days. Why unpack when I'm going to have to pack it back up anyway? Kind of like, why make the bed? I'm gonna get back in it anyway. I'm just kidding. I do make the bed, but like the cheesiest way, just by pulling up the covers. I know it's terrible, but I did think like, man, there are those people who legit like unpack everything and then pack it back up. It's wild. I'm not that type of person. I'm the person, like I said, who lives out of my suitcase. But hey, I guess it takes two kinds, right? And so speaking of suitcase, back to the airport, the other thing I noticed and that I wrote down was just that awkward moment, the things that are just not fun. Those things that kind of make you nervous to do, even though they really shouldn't. Kind of like I get nervous when I have to go take my car to get my oil changed. I'm always worried that I'm going to drive in the little hole. That just makes me anxious. So little things like that make me nervous. Well, in the airport, one random thing that I just get a teensy bit of anxiety. I mean, not enough that anyone would notice or even care about, but just a teensy bit of anxiety is getting my luggage off the conveyor belt thingy. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal, and it isn't a big deal, but it is a little weird and awkward, right? Like, you're just sitting there waiting, and then it's moving, so then you have this, like, let me grab it really quick, and if yours is super heavy, it's kind of like, oh, as you try to get it off, and it's just, the whole thing is awkward. It's like putting gas in your car, how you can't look cool doing that, right? There's no cool way to get your luggage off the conveyor belt. And it's just awkward. And standing around is awkward. anytime I think you're standing around in public without the expectation of having a conversation or talking with people, it's just awkward. Kind of like elevators, y'all. And this is hilariously random, but on this trip we took, there were lots of elevators, and oh, and I know how awkward they can be, but man, I was reminded just how awkward they are because we were on this elevator every single day up and down and just getting in with all different kinds of people, with young people. I remember I got on the elevator one time. I think it was just me. I think it was. And I was on there with these two kiddos, and there was these two young girls, probably like, I want to say 12, 13 years old. And everybody, when you get on, there is that natural expectation that you're just quiet. You face the door and you're quiet. You might kind of small talk the people around you or whisper to the people you got on the elevator with, but for the most part, you're not being loud and distracting and things like that. These girls did not get this memo. They were choosing to try to practice singing different Disney songs, and not quietly, but just singing different ones for whatever reason. I don't know if they're getting ready for like a Disney karaoke or what, but they were just singing different songs and humming. And when the one girl was trying to tell her friend, well, maybe we shouldn't do this because literally everyone in here in this small elevator can hear us, the other one was like, oh, we're on elevator music. And so she just kept on singing. And I was like, okay, elevators, they're just awkward. But but hey, they are what they are. They're tight. I'm telling you, we got on so many elevators where there was like filled to the max that it's like, man, if anybody, whatever sickness anybody had, we all just got it. Like breathing all that, we all just we got it all. Okay. So that was just the nice random funness of elevators and parts of the trip. But like I said, I will go more into that in the bonus episode. But some other awkward moments that I had recently. So, in preparing for the trip, you know how you want to look your best, right? Anytime you take a trip, you're like, okay, 2 weeks before, usually a couple weeks before, I'm like, let me start getting my fitness game together because I know on the trip, I'm not going to care, right? I'm just going to eat whatever I want. Whenever I go on a trip, I just eat what I want, however much I want. So I generally, before, I try to drop a few pounds. So that way, when I gain a few pounds on the trip, I just even out, right? So 2 weeks before, I'm trying to get my stuff together. Like I'm trying to, lose weight, do my thing. I got my hair done. That was good. I think I told y'all about that experience a few months ago, about how when I went to go get my hair done, and there was just a lot going on. Well, I went to get my hair done again, and there wasn't as much going on. It was a lot more chill, but and it was fine. The whole thing, it ended up being fine. It was good. So anyway, so I got my hair done, a few weeks before, and I was trying to work on losing weight, doing my thing, trying to eat right. I did not do very well, but I did try. And then I usually try to grow my nails out, got to get my nails done, grow them out, and then just, pamper myself. So about a few days before the trip, I was like, okay, and now it's about time for me to get my eyebrows done. Now, when you get your eyebrows done, there's different ways. You can get them waxed, you can get them threaded, you can pluck them, whatever. I, maybe like 10 years ago now, discovered threading, and they do that in the mall, but that's that style where they use that string, like a piece of thread, literally to I guess yank your eyebrows. I don't know, you just yank them out, cut them. I don't know how they do it, but it gets really precise and it looks really good. So if you haven't gotten your eyebrows threaded before, if you're like a wax person, the threading is so much more precise, and it's better than plucking in the sense that plucking your eyebrows, I think, hurts a lot more than threading. They're both are the yanking out process, but one is a little bit better than the other. So I was able to get my eyebrows threaded, right? So when you get your eyebrows threaded, you're laying back, and the lady, she's just leaning over you, as you can imagine, pretty much plucking your eyebrows. And this has happened twice now, this past winter, this past time, and I think the time before that, maybe 2 times before that. And that is when you're getting your eyebrows threaded, that is one of the worst times to have to cough. Okay? There are several times in life where you just don't want to cough. Okay? There are times like when you're in church, right? And this happened. Oh, I can't remember exactly when, but you're in church and you know sickness has been going around, and maybe you have a cough, maybe you've been sick, maybe you're getting over sickness, who knows? But you just don't want to cough because you remember COVID times. Whenever you coughed, everybody stared at you like, "What? Why are you even in my presence with a cough?" Right? So I think some of that still lingers, and so it's just awkward to cough sometimes because you think everybody's gonna think you're sick, and it's just bad timing. So bad timing to cough is of course like at church, right? Especially when things are quiet. And I tell you what, I feel like my voice will be perfectly fine. I won't have the need to cough until it gets quiet, until like it's just the pastor speaking. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I really need to cough right now. And it's like the worst time. It's probably something serious going on. He's saying something that, there shouldn't be any distractions. And then all of a sudden I have to cough. So that is the worst time. But the other time is, of course, when you're getting your eyebrows done, because one, the lady is sitting there plucking your eyebrows, right? And so you don't want her to mess up because once it's gone, it's gone. And then you got to just wait for it to grow back. So you don't want to cough and mess her up. But then you don't want to cough because also, like, they're leaning so close to you. And I think for the most part now they do wear masks, but you don't want to cough in anybody's face because that's gross. But you can't like turn your head and cough into your sleeve or your arm because they're like literally doing your eyebrows at the same time. So this happened where I had this just urge to cough, like I could feel it coming. And when you feel it, you're trying to swallow your spit. Yeah, you're trying to like liquefy, get some moisture in there. You are trying to hold it in. You are trying your absolute best, and yet like tears start popping out, and she's gonna think, and I might have told this when I think this has happened before back when I was sick, and I know this lady probably thought I was crying because the threading and thinking that I was crying over the plucking, but no, once again, these tears are popping out because I'm trying so hard to hold in this cough, and I'm like, just hold it in a little longer. And y'all, if you've been there, you know how hard it is to hold a cough in, and you can only do it so long. I don't think it goes away either because I held it in, and finally I think she like stood up or like straightened up to rethread it, and then I'm like trying not to like hack all over the place and do a light cough. And of course she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, thank you. But just sometimes are the worst to cough. Another time is like if you're getting a massage, that's probably not the best time to cough, only because it's just awkward. And I think anytime where people are close to you and you don't want them to think you're sick, oh my goodness, it's just the worst. It's terrible. It's terrible. But yeah, so I made it through, y'all. I did make it through, got my eyebrows threaded. I'm ready. And my trip was good to go on the trip, but I just had to share that awkward worst time to cough kind of feeling. But yeah, so kind of on the flip side of that, I did have another cool feeling like a boss moment this week. And that was I got to experience a feeling that I do not often get to experience. And that is the feeling of knowing exactly where something is when someone asks for it. As a person who, I wouldn't say that I'm not a dirty person, but I can be messy. I'm not disorganized, but I can not know exactly where things are. I'm very organized in some areas of my life, and then not as organized in others. But very rarely can I tell you exactly where something is. I'm one of those, I can give you a general idea, or I can think about, let's see, the last time I had it, I think I was around here, so maybe it's over there. So not often do I just know exactly where something is. Well, this week, y'all, I got to experience it, and hey, I got to do something. It was so cool. So I was at school, and one of the teachers I worked with was asking for me to return some fraction cards that I had borrowed from her. And these are just kind of like flashcards, but they were for fractions that I was working on with my fourth graders. And she asked me, and I just knew immediately where they were. And I was like, oh yeah, let me grab those. I went right to the correct drawer, which is huge because usually if it's drawers, it's like, it's in one of these drawers. But no, I went to the exact correct drawer. I pulled out the 2 packs of cards and I was like, here you go. And she was like, thanks. And I just felt so accomplished because I did not have to be like, oh, hold on, let me look, which most of the time I do, hey, you remember that one thing? Yeah. Hold on, let me find it. Let me look through these piles of papers. Let me look through this stack. I know I have it somewhere. Usually that's me. I am the one who, like, I know I have it. I do know I have it. I just have to find it. I just have to remember where I put it. But this time I actually remembered exactly where it was, and I felt very cool. I felt like I could be like my sister, who's pretty organized, and could probably tell you where everything and anything is in her house without actually being like in the room, tell you exactly where it is. That's how you know you got it. But I got to experience that, and I just felt cool. So I just thought I would share that was a cool moment. And if you're someone who can do that at all times, shout out to you, because that is an amazing skill. And it's a cool feeling. I bet you feel cool all the time. So yeah. So speaking of school, I do have just a quick school story to share. I know I share them often, but that's where most of my time is. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you don't mind. I hope it inspires you to work with kids one day. But or if not, maybe it'll inspire you to just you know your limits. That maybe you don't want to be around kids. You can hear about them, but maybe you don't want to be around them. But this past week, our fourth graders were working on their Black History Month project. And as sort of their accumulating project, they had to choose an influential African American, and they had to learn about this person, research them, and then they had to present being that person as in a wax museum, So they were able to dress up as a person, and they had to, stand around and be able to talk about their person, which was fun. And so we just did that today. They're accumulating projects, and it was so fun to see just the excitement on some of them. Of course, the fear on some of their faces. They were like, oh my goodness. I was like, how are y'all doing? Thumbs up if you're ready, thumbs down if you're like, no, thumbs in the middle. And of course, we had the whole gamut of all the feelings that they were feeling. But they were, being able to kind of overcome their fears and do it. But they were able to share, their African American person. Well, the story comes from, it was one of our little guys. He had chosen to be Ray Charles. Okay. And so I was kind of practicing with him in the beginning. I was like, okay, well, tell me who your person is. Ray Charles. I'm like, oh, great. What is he famous for? He's a famous musician, da, 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 da. And so I said, okay, well, what did he play? And the young man said, well, he didn't play anything. I said, well, of course he did. He said, no, he didn't play anything. He was a musician. And I said, yeah, that means he played something. He's like, no, he was a musician. And then it took me a second. I was like, oh, he thinks I'm referencing like playing a sport, which cracked me up. I was like, oh my goodness. Like we're talking two different things here, which is hilarious. Which, I mean, I'm kind of like, okay, if you're a musician, you should know what he's playing. But it was funny because he was like, when you're talking about play, you're talking about sports in his mind, right? He was like, he didn't play sports. He was a musician, right? Like he didn't do sports. And here I'm thinking like, well, what instrument did he play? Trying to pull that out of him. And I was like, no, what instrument did he play? And so we had to look it up, and I had to show him a video, of course. And he was like, oh, okay. And then I showed him his sunglasses, and then I was like, you know what? I've got some in my car. Let me go grab them. And I grabbed them for him. And first he was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to wear these. And then he did wear them, and then he took them off again. You know how fourth graders can be. But I just thought it was hilarious that when I had mentioned what did he play, like he legit was like, he doesn't play anything. He's a musician. Like he doesn't play sports. Like he plays. He's a musician, which I'm not entirely sure if he knew quite that musicians mean that they play an instrument. But I do think that was funny that we both were using the word play, but had two completely different meanings for it. But we were able to work on that and educate the young man on that people can play sports, or they can also play instruments. And so I thought that was hilarious. But really, all the fourth graders, the ones that I was able to listen to and hear, they did great. It's a fun project. It made me think about when I was in fourth grade. I remember doing a wax museum. It was either fourth or fifth grade. And I was Sacagawea. And I remember getting to dress up as her and holding like the baby and pointing. That was my pose, and being able to give my spill and my speech on that, on her. And I do remember being very nervous, but also excited to be able to do that. And so that was kind of fun memories. Yeah. So, and if you guys have ever, if you were a Wax Museum person, feel free to share that. It'd be cool to see how many people actually did that when they were in elementary school. I feel like, I don't think it's a requirement by any means as far as a standard to do that. But I do feel like that it was pretty common. I feel like that's something that other people would have done. But yeah, so feel free to share that if you did ever do a Wax Museum person in your education when you were younger. That also reminds me of when, and I remember this terrified me. It was 8th grade, and we were studying the Underground Railroad, and we had to do this major project. We had to do several projects actually in the whole thing. I remember I had to learn a monologue, and I had to be able to kind of give that monologue with expression and share that with other students. And that was like one part of the project. And then I remember my bestie and I, we were part of the music part. So we had to learn, songs from that time. And I remember we learned Follow the Drinking Gourd, and we sang it. And then another friend of mine, she played the flute, I believe. And so she would play the flute, and we would sing Follow the Drinking Gourd, which is once again, not to keep singing on the podcast, but my goodness. And I haven't even thought about that probably since then. Follow the Drinking Gourd, for the old man is waiting to carry you to freedom. Oh my goodness, now I feel like I need to go look that up. But I remember we had to sing that as part of the project. And then, not directly connected to that, but not long after that, I do believe, we had another project that was for the Salem witch trials. And for that project, this is the one that made me so nervous. We had to choose a character, or choose a person that was written about in history, and we had to learn enough about that person that we had to, I guess, play that role of that person in a trial. And so different students were assigned to be lawyers, and other students were assigned to be the different people or the characters, and we had to go on trial for something. And I remember I had to learn about my character enough to where if I was asked questions by the, students who were chosen to be lawyers, I had to be able to answer accurately. And our grade was based on if we knew enough about our character to respond accurately to any questions that the lawyer had. Y'all, I felt so much stress. I know leading up to it, I think that was the first time that I ever felt like I could pass out, like from a school project. I remember just when it was time for the trial, right? That I was just so nervous. And I remember going up there when it was my turn to be the witness, and just like literally my eyes almost clouding over. But luckily they only asked like 2 questions of me, and I was able to answer and be done. But I just remember being so nervous. And yeah, man, sometimes these school projects, as a teacher, you're like, oh, this is great. It's going to be a good learning experience. And as a student, you're like, oh my goodness, what am I having to do here? But I do remember those projects. And feel free, let me know if you have a school project that you remember that was either like wild, like crazy, like I can't believe I had to do that either you really enjoyed or that just scared the daylights out of you. And you were like, oh no, I can't believe I had to do that. Because sometimes, man, these school projects, they can get out of control. I'm not saying that the Wax Museum is, but I am saying that, that one in 8th grade, it made me so nervous. But they can be fun. Believe it or not, I do remember them. I mean, it's years later, and I do remember them. And I feel like I could probably still remember some of the facts. I still remembered that Follow the Drinking Gourd song. So, hey, maybe for what it's worth, those school projects, hands-on projects, maybe they do work to help us learn. But yeah, so anyway, so that's all I want to share about the school. I did want to go into, so I don't think I've done a music segment in a couple of episodes, or at least I don't think I did in this last one, but I do have a song suggestion that I want to throw out there that I've been listening to, that I have been inspired by, and that is Deeper, and it is sung by a girl named Savannah McKee, And I think it's featuring her. So if you go to look it up on Apple Music or Spotify, I would just type in Deeper Savannah McKee. And if you can't find it through that, maybe Deeper POK, Pentecostals of Katy. And that song has just been hitting me lately. I've listened to it on repeat. Y'all know how I do, right? But I've been listening to it on repeat just because it's been hitting me where I've been. So y'all know, on this journey of trying to enjoy the little things in life, and trying to do a little more, I've been, always trying to read my Bible, always trying to pray more, do those things. But one thing that I've been, at least in the last couple weeks, probably in the last month or so even, I've been trying to be more conscious about doing the thing. So let me explain. So last episode, I think I mentioned doing just a little more, right? Just going a little more, trying a little harder, pushing a little harder, for whatever it is. And part of that is something that I've been trying to work on is not running away from the scary feelings. And you're like, okay, stick with me, okay? Hopefully it'll make sense when I get done explaining. So, sometimes I have found that I will shut down mentally those feelings that I think I don't want to face, right? And those emotions that I'm just like, I don't feel like feeling those right now, so we're just going to shut it down and move on and do something different. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not the time to face those things, and sometimes you don't need to dwell on those things. But sometimes you do. And so one of the things that have been hitting me has been, there have been times when I've been praying and I will get to a point where I could kind of keep it, I don't want to say keep it shallow, but keep it lighter, right? Like talk about those things that concern me, talk about the things I want to pray for. But, once maybe my heart gets into it, I'm like, whoa, okay, now we're going a little deep. I don't feel like crying right now. I don't feel like going that hard right now. So I'm going to talk about it, but we don't got to go that deep yet, right? And so something I've been trying to practice doing, and the whole reason I'm mentioning it is, one, to keep myself accountable, but also that maybe it's something that you do already, or something you want to think about doing, is just not running from that. So when I've been praying, I read part of the book on prayer. I think I mentioned it. I know I mentioned it during the book segment, and I think even the episode after that. But the author was talking about, there's this kind of chapter or section called Try Tears. And he was talking about sort of the kind of lost art of crying in prayer. And I'm not one to necessarily always like to cry in prayer. I don't often cry, I don't think, in prayer. I'm not because I'm not feeling it or anything, but I'm definitely one that I like to talk in prayer. I like to, of course, be excited, be happy in prayer, things like that. And sometimes I'll cry, but sometimes I can feel like I'm going to cry, but I don't want to. And so I stop myself. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm feeling the burden, I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to face it head on. So if I'm starting to feel like, ooh, I could cry here for this person or this situation, instead of stopping it, I'm going to let it happen. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go deeper, kind of like the song. I'm going to run towards that thing. I'm not going to run away from it, I should say. And sort of an example is I was just in prayer in the car. I was praying about, I was actually repenting. Here's me being open and vulnerable. I was repenting about I had felt like, okay, God, maybe I shouldn't have said that thing, right? Okay, y'all know, y'all been there. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that was a little snarky. Maybe that was just a little petty. And so I was like, okay, God, I'm so sorry. And so I was like, I'm sorry, and I didn't want to dwell on it. But I was like, okay, I'm sorry, and I want to move on. But I was like, you know what? Let me feel the depth of the sorry, and not just be like, oh, okay, I am sorry, but I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to move on. So I said, you know what, God, this is how I really feel. I really do feel bad. And I'm not running away from this feeling of conviction. I'm not running away from conviction. And I said, I'm going to embrace it. and I'm going to let it sink inside my soul. So that way I can remember how this feels and I can do better next time. Kind of like, how, I do it with my kids at school a lot, where when we have that deep talks and when they start crying and feeling it, and I'm like, I want them to feel it because I want them to understand how it feels so they don't do it again. But as an adult, I like to run away from those things. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here and I'm going to feel it. And I'm going to trust that God's going to use this not as punishment, but as a way to help me change and be different. Because sometimes those negative feelings, I'm like, ooh, I don't want to sit here because I don't want God to know that I'm feeling negatively or that I'm feeling bad or that I have this thought or feeling, because sometimes we want to just present our best to Him, right? Like, I don't want Him to know that I'm feeling this way. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not running from these feelings. I'm going to see what their purpose is. And if they don't seem to have one, I'm going to ask God, okay, give this a purpose. So today, like I said, when I was repenting over the things I had said, instead of very quickly going through it, I was like, you know what? Genuinely, God, I am sorry that I said that. Because it doesn't make me feel good. And I don't feel like that's reflects who I want to be, right? That space between who I am and who I want to be. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take a moment. I'm not going to run from this feeling, but this is how I feel. This is the heaviness that I feel just from that. So I'm going to feel it and I'm like, okay, and I'm going to use this, God, and hopefully next time I'll remember this and I won't do it again. And I'm very sorry. And I tell you what, after that kind of genuine, more deeper repentance, or just that deeper resting in that feeling and not running away from it, I was like, okay. Like, I knew God would forgive me regardless, like I knew He'd forgive me the moment I asked for forgiveness. But I didn't want Him to have to forgive me for the same thing again the next day, tomorrow, right? So I do think that just taking that extra moment to go a little deeper in that moment was meaningful. And that's just one example of not running away from that, of going deeper. And another way is lately I've been feeling, and I'm sorry if this is a little heavy, if you're feeling, and you're like, what, this is lighthearted. We'll jump back to the lighthearted, but sometimes, we got to be real too. And I've been feeling like a burden, kind of feeling like God's been, leading me some ways. I have no idea, but sometimes I've felt the burden in the past, but I'm like, I haven't explored it. I've been like, I feel like I should do this, but I'll just wait for God to keep touching on my heart again. And I let it go. But one thing I've been working on practicing has been like, okay, when I feel the burden, I'm not just going to let it go and be like, okay, God, I'm feeling something here. Let's explore it. And I think it's been good. I'm not saying that I always know exactly where the emotions and the feelings and the burden and the spirit takes me. But I'm not going to run away from trying to find it, from trying to explore, from trying to go deeper. So I said all that to say that song Deeper has kind of been my inspiration for the last little bit, because I definitely want to go deeper in my walk with God. I want to go deeper but in like every area, like not just spiritually in my walk with God, but just deeper with life in general, deeper in my relationships. Social media is great and it's good, but that's not where things grow, right? So just kind of deeper. I guess you could say that's the theme of the last 2 weeks. My whole year is enjoying the little things, but kind of, just going deeper, not being afraid to face those things that may seem a little scary at first, may seem a little negative at first, may seem a little dark, but kind of facing the dark, being like, okay, if this is where we are, then this is where we are. Let's see what this is and what can come of this. And so anyway, so I said all that to say that that's my song suggestion that I wanted to throw out there, was The Deeper by Savannah McKee, or POK, Pentecostals of Katy. And to tie that in, that I'm practicing not running from things, not running from the things I feel or the things that the Spirit's leading me to, but going deeper in those things. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that quick little moment there. But I want to wrap up with my food segment. I got to experience this delicious thing, which I've had before. In fact, it's something that my dad, I think, used to get Mom almost every year, and that is a caramel apple, right? And you would think like, okay, a caramel apple, Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, your regular caramel apple you can get from the store. But I'm talking about two different apples. So first is Miss Prindables. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, or I don't even know, like it's the company. I'm assuming it's based off of her because it's called Miss Prindables. But they have caramel apples and chocolate covered caramel apples, if that makes sense. So you got the apple, the caramel, and the chocolate, and then all kinds of designs and things. And the apple is usually very crisp and yummy and delicious. And while that is that caramel apple overall is my general food segment, the specific one I'm talking about is I was at the airport and I was able to get a caramel apple from the store, just from the airport, right? The airport, y'all, airports have the most random like things. Like some airports, they're just like there's the airports that got like the great food choices and all the restaurants, and then there's the airports that are huge, like malls. Like when Hubs and I went to the London, and we we were at Heathrow, and that airport is, I mean, that's massive, and that is like a little mall. But we were at the airport, and they had chocolate. There's a chocolate store, and y'all know I can't resist. But apparently neither could my mom and sister that day. Look, we were like, we are coming back from vacation. We are definitely stopping and getting some chocolate. And so, yes, I spent $30 on chocolate. But it was my favorite of all of it. The thing that caught my eye was the big, delicious caramel apple. And of course, it's first off, I don't know how they get apples that big. I don't know if they're using like the GMO type stuff to get the apples that big, because regular apples don't seem that big. But these are big old apples right on a stick. And then they've got the caramel, of course, over it. And then you've got your dark chocolate, because I'm a dark chocolate person. You can get milk chocolate over it, but got the dark chocolate over that. And this caramel apple had that. And then it had, of course, some sea salt stuff on there, which y'all know. I don't know when sea salt became such a thing. I feel like it's been maybe in the last 5 or 10 years. It's been like sea salt on everything, which I don't mind. I do like kind of that dichotomy of taste, that two different types of things at the same time. It is kind of good, but sometimes the sea salt can get a bit much. Sometimes it's like the salt chunks are really big, and then it's like, nah, it's a little too much. But it had that on there, so we got that, and just the crispness of the apple, okay? The chewiness of the caramel, the decadence of the dark chocolate. I mean, come on, somebody. Like, can you just taste it? And then when you cut into it, because you don't bite into those, you can't. I mean, I've never seen anybody bite into those anyway. But when you cut your little sliver, and it looks good, and it just tastes good. It is the juiciness of the apple. That's the other thing, is like the juiciness mixed with like the chocolate, the hardness of the chocolate, but the creaminess of the caramel. You guys. Anyway, so that was amazing. And I'll go ahead and just tell you the other chocolate stuff we got. Of course, I had to get this thick old dark chocolate peanut butter cup. And when I say it was about 2 inches high, like that's how thick it was. 2 inches high, about 2 inches wide. Oh, it was so good. And did I eat it in one sitting? Yes, I did. As terrible as that was, yes, I did. And then the caramel square. Oh my goodness. You guys, I mean, I think I don't know, I wouldn't say I would want to own a business where I sold all things chocolate, because that would not be good for my health. But man, I think I could own a business where I could sell all things chocolate, regardless if it's good for my health. But no. So this place, and I can't even, it's terrible because I don't remember the name of the place. I would throw out the name of the place, but I can't remember the name of the place. But just know that even though it's not the fall, which is when you would think caramel apples would be amazing, I think kind of they're still good. They're still good regardless, whatever time of year. Caramel apples with chocolate, so good. You know what I haven't tried yet or even seen is white chocolate apple. I bet that would be good. I bet that would be. I kind of feel like I need to make one now, like make one for my hubs, because he really likes the white chocolate more than the dark chocolate or milk chocolate. I might have to try that. Honestly, look, you guys know, like, chocolate on fruit, period, is really good. Of course, chocolate-covered strawberries are so good. Chocolate-covered apples, of course, are amazing. I'm not a big chocolate banana person, but I have seen it. Now I'm thinking about what other fruit would be good with chocolate on top of it. We can't just eat the fruit and be healthy. No, we got to add the chocolate too. But anywho, so I had to throw that out there as part of my lovely food segment, which I do enjoy doing. It's not every episode, as y'all know, but I do enjoy it. I just like talking about food, and food is just so yummy and so good. I could always have another podcast just for that. But yeah, so you guys, I am going to wrap it up here, as I always say. And I want to say thank you again for listening. Thank you for tuning in one whole year later. You guys, I can't believe I can't believe we've done. I can't believe it's been a year, but I'm so grateful for you all, and just thankful for you guys listening, and for tuning in. As always, feel free to leave a comment on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Leave a review. Give me a 5-star review. I'll take that too. Share with your friends. Do what you do. Or if you just want to be one of those silent listeners, that is a-okay too. Regardless, I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you listening. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing next couple of weeks. And yeah, I'll see y'all in mid-March. Can't believe it. We're already here. That's crazy. But yeah, have a fantastic next couple of weeks.